Huh? A debt with $1 million? There's no way I can pay that. I'm divorcing you right now.
And saying that, my husband Ryan brought out the divorce papers to me. Fine, I understand. Let's divorce.
What a disaster for you too, huh? I can't imagine being in a huge debt because of your own parents that I would never be able to pay even if I spent the rest of my life paying it off.
Then I told my husband, who was grinning at me while he misunderstood everything, the actual truth.
What? Wait a minute. What do you mean?
My name is Layla. I'm 40 years old, and I work in a company. My husband, Ryan, and I have been married for exactly 10 years now. We had no kids, and we tried hard to have kids through fertility treatments, and so on. But to no avail, so we finally decided to give up on having kids, and just live as a married couple. But despite that, I think we got to live happily in our own way. My husband can be a bit stubborn, and we do argue regularly, but it's not like I hate him. And we do have nice conversations every day. He doesn't complain about every single thing I do, and he does a good job of earning enough money for us family. So we haven't had any major issues so far. My husband and I were originally classmates in high school. We were in the same class in freshman and sophomore year. And since we were both on the school's basketball team, we often practiced next to each other for the extracurricular activities. We weren't going out in high school, but he was one of my closest classmates I had in my grade. It was a certain wedding that brought us together, and we ended up getting married. At that time, people from the basketball team, regardless of whether they were women or guys, got together for a reunion. And there was when I met my husband again. We were seated next to each other at the after party, and the two of us started going out for drinks after work. And after a few more dates, we began to go out. We continued dating for the next 3 years, and then we decided to get married. I'm happy that we were able to get married at 30. I had planned and wanted to concentrate on my work and get promotion in my 20s after graduating from college. And I thought I would get married in my 30s. Ryan was a very kind and nice man, and I am very glad that he was the one I married. At the wedding, I was celebrated by many friends and colleagues, including former members of the basketball team, and I experienced the happiest time of my life. Then we started living together and began our newlywed life. Even though I had known Ryan since high school, being newlyweds was a special and fresh feeling. I think the newlywed magic is amazing because it had been more than 10 years since we had known each other, and we still felt like we were deeply in love even after 3 years of dating. My husband did a decent job of sharing the house chores, considering the fact that we were both working. Many of them were simple, but I am grateful for the situation where I come home from work and dinner is ready, because I appreciate that very much. During dinners, we would talk about each other's work and we would hear each other out if there were any issues at work.
Well, I was really busy today. My boss is giving me a lot of work to do.
I see. Well, good job today too. Let's give one more fried chicken to you then for working so hard today.
Yay!
We were happily living our newlywed life, while flirting with each other a bit like this. From then on, we lived happily as a couple, but as I mentioned earlier, we had difficulty having children. We tried infertility treatments and other fertility treatments, and all sorts of other things, but it was still no use. After years of not being able to have children, we began to give up and finally decided to spend time alone as a couple. However, after that, I felt that my husband had become cold towards me compared to before. If you say it was just my imagination, that's all there is to it. But I felt that he was less kind to me than how he usually was. He used to listen to me and consider my opinion. but now he tries to force his opinion on me. Perhaps all these years he had thought about me and held back, but maybe now he started to show his true self. Still, I didn't want to leave my husband because I loved him, but I did feel a little sad that he had begun to not treat me as well as he did before. It had been roughly 3 years since I started feeling that way. Well, we are going to be spending quite a long time together as a couple from now on, and it would be better if they stayed that way as long as possible. I thought so, but my husband's attitude towards me became worse year by year. We used to share the house chores because we were both working, but he stopped doing them altogether. Of course, I do not want my husband to be the main person to do the house chores, but it was really difficult for me when the dinner wasn't prepared when I was busy working late. And my husband was coming home late more and more often. I was really disappointed when he came home in the middle of the night and said,
"I'm sorry, I've already eaten."
But I had tolerated it because he worked hard to earn money and never complained when I spent time and money on my hobbies on my days off. Recently, however, something happened that made me strongly believe that my husband no longer loves me. He had forgotten about our 10th wedding anniversary. I had told him that on our 10th anniversary we would go to a fancy restaurant that I had wanted to go to for a long time. I had made reservations, but my husband had forgotten all about it. On the morning of the day, I asked him, "Can we meet at the restaurant at 7 p.m. today?" And to this, my husband said,
"For what?"
I was really shocked and ended up getting emotional. "I told you that we were going to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. That's why we made reservations at the restaurant, you know." When I said this, my husband was surprised, then turned grumpy and replied back to me saying,
"Don't get mad at me. You're so annoying from the morning."
"What do you mean you're so annoying? Don't you care about our marriage these days? I think you've been treating me like crap." I suddenly felt a surge of resentment that had been building up in me. It exploded, and I took it out on my husband. Then from this, my husband got even more upset with me.
"Excuse me? You're such a pain in the ass. What kind of 40-year-old woman dream about having dinner at a restaurant? It's only just an anniversary. Act like you're aged, Layla."
Wait, Ryan?
"You're so annoying. I'm leaving for work. Don't ever say anything weird to annoy me. Oh, and I'm meeting someone from work for drinks today after work. So, cancel the reservation."
No way. Saying that, my husband went to work. I couldn't believe what he said and froze for a while. What Ryan did and said was just too much. I wondered if I could continue being married to Ryan like this. I even thought so to myself. I decided to go to the restaurant with my father because it would be too much trouble for the restaurant as well since the reservation was today. My father's birthday was coming up, so it was a nice alternative to celebrating at the restaurant, but I was really shocked by my husband's attitude. My father was indeed surprised when he heard what I had to say.
"Ryan said something like that, huh? I can't believe why he'd say that, because I used to celebrate every wedding anniversary with your mom in a big way."
My mother passed away a few years ago, but my father really cherished her. I had seen such a close relationship between my parents, and I wanted to keep that kind of relationship with my husband. But it was sad to see how cold it turned out for us.
"Well, if anything happens, you can count on me, alright?"
"Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you, Dad." I was devastated, but my father listening to me calmed me down a bit. My husband did not come home that night. He came home in the early hours of the morning and went straight to bed and fell asleep. After that, we hardly talked at all. My husband worked late every day and came home really late every day now. At this rate, it might be difficult to stay married. While I was thinking about this, something unbelievable happened to me. My father had a heart attack and passed away. My mind went complete blank. I was devastated by the loss of my mother and my father, who was my only living family. But when I told my husband that my father had passed away, he replied with,
"Oh, I see."
I knew he didn't love me anymore. But still, your own wife's father had died, and so he should have shown me some kindness by hugging me and at least to try and comfort me. But in a way, my husband helped me regain my composure and proceeded with the funeral arrangements and preparations without being too emotional. And we were able to hold my father's funeral without any issues. My husband attended the funeral, but he looked like he didn't want to be there the whole time, which really pissed me off. I lost all affection I had for my husband. A few days later, a lawyer came to our house to talk about the inheritance, and that's when I clashed with my husband again.
Regarding your father's inheritance, Layla, first of all, there is $1 million of debt.
The moment the lawyer said that, my husband raised his voice.
Huh? A debt with $1 million? There's no way I can pay that.
Honey, wait. Let's hear what the lawyer has to say until the end.
You're joking, right? I can't stay with a person who's in that much debt any longer. I'm divorcing you right now.
And saying that, my husband Ryan brought out the divorce papers to me. What? Are you serious?
Of course I'm serious. Our marriage is already in ruins, for the most part anyways.
That's because you're not letting us have a chance to communicate with each other.
Shut up. Anyway, I can't stay married to a woman with a debt like that. Sign these divorce papers.
Fine. I understand. Let's divorce. I received the divorce papers from my husband and signed them. I was so angry that I didn't know when he had prepared it and had already filled it out. But I was glad because this would still allow me to completely cut off any ties with my husband. Besides, I still had a few things I was glad to be rid of my husband for. In my mind, I grinned and said to my husband, "Well then, I'll make sure to submit this. Mr. Seymour, I will inherit them properly, so may I have the paperwork?"
Yes, ma'am.
And like this, I have completed the formalities for the inheritance of my father's estate. Thank you very much.
Your father's estate has been inherited by you, ma'am.
At any rate, I asked the lawyer, Mr. Seymour, to leave, so that I can conduct necessary procedures to file the divorce papers. When I returned home, my husband was waiting for me with a victorious look on his face.
What a disaster for you too, huh? I can't imagine being in a huge debt because of your own parents that I would never be able to pay, even if I spent the rest of my life paying it off.
Then I told my husband, who was grinning at me while he misunderstood everything, the actual truth. The lawyer on the phone told me that it wasn't just the debt I inherited.
Huh?
My father's debt is the newly built house that he had built.
House? What? Wait a minute. What do you mean?
My father was building a house for me. He had taken out a loan on it, but he died of heart attack right after he bought it. And since most of the loan was left, I was told that he had owed $1 million. But when I heard that first, I thought that was really odd. He told me that there was no way he was in debt, since he was an executive while he was working for a company. And he also made money by investing in stocks.
Stocks?
He left me enough money as an inheritance and I wouldn't have to pay for the $1 million debt. So, in other words, I don't have any debt and now I have a lot of money.
No way! I didn't hear that. You've got to be kidding me.
Well, that's your fault for not listening to the lawyer until the very end.
Then give me half of it for property division.
What are you talking about? My share of the inheritance doesn't count as part of the property division.
Excuse me?
We're already divorced, and no matter how much money I get, it has nothing to do with you. When I said that, my husband suddenly changed his attitude really quickly.
Layla, let's pretend the divorce never really happened. I finally understand who's really important to me. We love each other. Let's get married again.
I was so disgusted by his actions and attitude that there was literally no love for him anymore. Stop it, you're disgusting. You're just after the money and you don't love me at all, right? I would never marry a person like that ever again. Don't you dare underestimate me. Once I pack my bags, I'll leave. You should just go on with your life as usual. If you start following me around, I will call the police on you. You and I are complete strangers now. My husband turned pale when I said this. Then, ignoring my husband, I packed my belongings and left the house. After that, I moved into the house my father had built for me. It was a very luxurious and beautiful house, as one would expect from a house that cost $1 million to build. I would be able to live comfortably here for a really long time. And well, as for my ex-husband, I requested an investigation by a professional investigating agency just to be sure. And it turned out that he had been having a relationship with a woman while he was married to me. So I immediately sent a content certified letter to my ex-husband and his lover's workplace in order to have them pay me alimony for their affair. As a result, my ex-husband had to work even more to pay off for the alimony, while his colleagues gave him a cold shoulder. I inherited everything from my father and had my alimony paid. So, my retirement would now be secured. But I will follow my father's example and increase my assets through stocks and other investments. And from now on, while devoting myself to my work, I will try as much as I can to take on other hobbies and challenges that I want to try. The reason Ryan was becoming cold to Layla was because he was having an affair, huh? But as it turned out, he lost a tremendous amount of money by having the affair. What a really great feeling to get back at him, huh? I'm glad Layla got a divorce from a scumbag like him. From now on, Layla can live in peace and not worry about money. I hope Layla will try whatever she wants to do and challenge until she's satisfied. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.